Hello, everyone out there. This will be the Unnamed Adventurers Guild Talk, and we have a couple elements that we'll talk about. Uh, one being making a tiered adventure platform, and two, talking about some of the player characters out of the Bowls uh, source material, uh, Beast Tone. As such. when our uh, when our guild members get here, we'll go on at least with those two topics and some of the others that they may have as far as questions or input uh, here in the current. Hello, guys.
Hello.
And Caius, I don't know if I'll be able to get to your game. I got to take my truck in to the garage. The steering's acting weird, so I don't know how long that'll take me. But it sounds like a fun event.
What could possibly go wrong with a bunch of adventurers in a rich noble's house watching out for thieves?
Well, you could have a bunch of the dust shroud coming on in to steal something, or a rival thieves guild, or someone that has a grudge against that noble, or you may have a rebellious peasant base that's not liking the noble because he's been overbearing. Let me go on. I could think of a lot of things. And then you could have some greedy guild members that see an opportunity.
What's this?
I'm just talking about your adventure.
Oh no, I told you it's. No, Rash has told you it's easy money. There'll be no problems. It'll just be, they'll just be standing around, having a few drinks and then collecting the money at the end of the day. There's really no problem.
Or you could have a corrupt noble that goes ahead, hires the guild members to defame them and gets them drunk.
Don't give them ideas, jeez.
And then have certain things come up missing and be found upon their person, and then all of a sudden the guild is they're defending its reputation again. Well, you asked a question. I gave out possibilities.
I don't need all that attention because I got some sort of weird lady stalking me. Help.
It's I don't know why you're so suspicious. It will just be it's just what it says, easy money. A night of
25 gold.
The smile on your face does not belie the secrets behind the DM screen. Don't pay attention to that little man behind the curtain.
I hear when one GM smiles, the game's already over, but when two of them smiles, I don't know what that means.
The game is never over. But yeah, we definitely have two major topics on the agenda on this. I started the broadcast a little earlier than what I planned, just not thinking, so I introed with that because we're live right now.
We're living right now.
So anyone who tunes in has the pleasure of seeing me eat and drink.
Well, that's all right.
I'll mute.
Oh, that's all right. You've been muting off and on anyway, so.
Sandwich.
Yes.
Ugh. And I'm out of coffee.
Oh, go get some. We got 7 minutes.
We're early. Yeah.
And then whoever's going to show will show. We'll start talking on topics around that. But I did two of the main things that were pushed onto the guild page. I think we definitely warrant a good discussion. They're both pretty valid.
Oh.
As far as that, and that way we can have a little bit of direction and clarity on it.
What would it take to be a GM?
Well, one, a desire. 2,
wisdom, wisdom, years of dedication and hard work. You know, we don't get to be this good overnight. You know, it's.
Oh God! Well, I'm done for.
But but if you, Alex, if you wanted to DM something, come up with a concept of what your game would be about, and if nothing else, we'll put you on as one of the cameos. We got one permanent slot basically open, and the DM team would pick or come to consensus or majority and pick that individual. But on the permanent side, you're basically putting up a commitment that you'll run a game at least once a month, which for some guys is a little much because they got games and campaigns that they run, and to try to sate that for guys that want to work within that realm, you can run a cameo. That way it doesn't overload your commitment and allows a little flexibility and changes some flavor from what the permanent DMs and their storylines. If you got a story arc that sounds fun and like that, just like Matt's a monster hunt and Caius's monster hunt, those are a different flavor and real fun.
Yeah.
To be honest, mine have gone from slightly more complicated than monster hunts.
Well,
am I breaking guild rules by posting this adventure today?
No.
Good.
No.
I don't know. I don't know what you're going to do to me though. You got this side quest going on for me, and I'm scared. I'm a level 3 bard. What do you want from me, lady?
That's the other thing. I got to get caught up on the guild roster and get that all redone and like that. So I may be asking for some information from the people that have played since the last update. As far as that, so I can get that filled out correctly. Bellinor, all I got to do is just, on the games that you played, make sure I get the XP and the level done right.
Yeah.
But there was one of the newer players that was playing, and I don't know everything. It was in Caius's game. I don't know.
Was it what's it called? Aldrin or Audrin, son of the sun, the paladin.
Yeah, Albrin.
It could.
Albrin.
Could be. But I'll need to get.
He's level 2. He played one game with us, and he's going to be playing in today's game, or at least he says he is.
Okay, I'll wait. I'll wait till after today's game to try to get the things updated too.
Are you planning on? There are a couple of new players. One who Aubrin or I can't remember the player's name. Knows, but the other guy is completely unknown and hasn't. I don't think he's posted any extra information on his character or anything yet, which is fine. But I don't know if it'll be a no-show.
He asked if he could play an archetype from Unearthed Arcana, the Waterborne section, and I posted up a link so that you guys could see it.
Nice. Oh, I missed that.
But it is an archetype that exists, and I was just showing. He wanted to do a homebrew concoction on it, which is staying to the Draconic bloodline, but using the Waterborne features, which was bonus spells and some other features like a pushback. So I posted a link to the Waterborne section on the archetypes it has. But
yes, I missed this. Brandon Mole. Just a question. I want to play a Sorcerer Draconic Ancestry. Would it be possible to take a...
I just suggested that he looks to the light domain because 3 of the spells that he has on there are bonus spells for the light domain as a cleric. You wouldn't get Alter Self, but I think they do have Fear and Absorb elements, at least in the player's handbook. I'll check right now.
Absorb elements is also, I think that's in the elemental evils for in there possibly, and I know it's a ranger spell choice. It also maybe on some other list too. But
I know Alter Self is definitely not on there, but the clerics don't learn absorb elements on their own either.
Okay, we're at 11 o'clock, so this is a good segue. We'll go on into it as far as playing homebrew items here in the guild games. Really, from my perspective, we've said anything that's been official Wizards of the Coast, that's automatically good to go. And anything out of the Unearthed Arcana was subject to a couple things: DM approval, and since it's playtest material, the items out of the Unearthed Arcana, then that we request that feedback be given to Wizards of the Coast on that stuff. As far as what the one individual we were talking about, I don't know if that's really homebrew as per se, or just
more of a modification,
an optional selection. And as the bonus spells, as long as it doesn't break the spirit of the game and stuff, I personally don't see a problem, because it's not like you're getting extra spells. It's just that you have different spells to choose from for your spell level and spell slots. So I don't see that being a game breaker on that, but I don't know how you guys necessarily feel on that.
I'm not a DM, so I would definitely lean towards, yeah, it's because it's not like he's getting any huge benefits. He's still getting the bonus spells as regular.
Yeah,
just they're different.
And it doesn't matter whether you're a DM or not on this. Here again, this is for everyone that has questions or perspectives to be shared, so we can have a somewhat consensus, because we're not technically 100% rules is written. I'll put that out there, because our XP situation is not. However,
I like our XP system.
We are getting validated from the community and Wizards, because they're talking on this XP to milestones for advancing characters, and which basically our XP is a system that we have is a middle ground to that, because you do have a milestone feel, and it is a type of way on a system basis to go ahead and know where you're kind of at, to have a player perspective, to see, okay, I'm getting up there, about there, I could expect this. So I think it's a good middle ground where we're at, but technically we're not a community that is 100% technical rules is written. And with the advent of so much unearthed arcana, we did in the past come to the conclusion that the DMs, if they're comfortable with that combination to be played, then we'd allow it, but we'd also expect the feedback to go back to Wizards of the Coast so they can make proper adjustments or not, and with the spirit that they had with playtest material.
Yep.
Yeah, not much to say. Change on that.
And with the question that Javier had, and since it's along the same lines about monstrous player characters out of the bowls, beast tome or beastery, that's a official Wizards of the Coast document. That's not a playtest material. So by the start and charter, I guess if you want to say it, and core feeling that we had, then yes, those, any of those in there that say can be used as a player character, we should honor what we stand by. Now, I think I was taking a look at it, and I think that there was a couple that were slotted as optional for the DM. And if it does say optional, then it's DM option to say yay or nay. I would only ask that anybody that wants to play something like that, just check with the DM anyhow, even though it is official, so they can see how it's going to fit in their event as far as that. And so they can bone up on certain things about it. And myself, I know I'll ask on certain ones the justification or backstory on how it would break away from its racial norm to be out on with the guild or such, because the one that I would be pretty adamant as far as that would be the Lizard Man, because Illumina has been fighting lizard men around itself, and it's not saying it's impossible, but have a good reason or backstory that justifies why you're aligning with someone that you've been warring against. As far as that, that's just me. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
My campaigns, well, I only tried monstrous races in 3.5 and Pathfinder, so I don't, and there was a way to from using the monster manual, so there was a way you could take their stats and then add them to rolls. I don't know how that works in 5th edition, so
well, with 5th edition bowls, it's pretty much all set up for you. It explains in their section on that, as far as that goes, and they have the progression, they have the abilities and certain things like that. I know some folks on some of the discussion boards thought that some of the races were a little OP at some point, but it's past Wizards side, so, and that's why, because of that, my suggestion of getting with the DM so the DM can keep things challenging if there are some special effects from one of the monstrous player characters that may out of balance things and not allow the player to have as much fun. What do you think, Caius?
I don't mind either way, but my instinct is slightly away from having too many playable races, but it's just my own preference.
And there again, as a DM, that's why I defer for the player to get with the DM anyways.
But again, if somebody wants to play it, if somebody really wants to play it, okay. But I like there to be some monsters that are just monsters.
Well, and with that, there's only a handful that Voles has made as a player character race. And one of them was Lizardmen. And like I said, I know in our campaigns, we've battled against them. So there'd have to be some justification in my mind with that. But it's no different than the Drow. I know a lot of DMs, including myself, is you'd have to play a Drow in one of the guild adventures. You'd have to have a justification why that particular Drow has made a split and divide, since the guild doesn't take any evil player characters. And it's a simple thing that just causes it doesn't say someone can't play it, but it's just a simple thing where they have to sit down and come up with a viable reason why they're not aligned with the racial norm. Kind of like Drizzt, as far as an example, with the Drow and that limelight. Think that's clear and reasonable?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other topic was one that Caius brought up, with having some restricted tier level guild adventures for higher levels and like that. And personally, I'm good with it, because we've heard in the past some of the guys that uncomfortable with high level characters playing with low level characters, and this is a method that would be maybe fixing that as far as that goes. And it would allow some people, if they wanted to play something a little higher level, to devise that, and would be into one of those restricted or one of those tier games. All it's going to do is be for the DMs to adjust, and when they list a game, list level or tier, we can come up with a system for that, whether we want to list it as tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, or such. But there again, we can possibly put that on a poll, how the guild members would want it, how many tiers, 3 or 4. As far as I'm not adverse to the idea. I think it's there again, this guild campaign and page is a living item, and everything that lives does change and adapt to the needs of the body, and the body being the members. How do you guys feel on that one?
I'll let Caius go first.
Well, there was quite when I put up the suggestion, there's quite a reaction. But quite a lot of people sort of there are a couple who said they liked the idea, and there are quite a number who had played who said they liked actually playing in a group with different levels, and it added a different element to the group. So I don't think we should completely change. Maybe occasionally run a tiered game for people who specifically prefer those. But I'd say as a core, keep with the format as it is, and have different levels in a group, and just create the games accordingly. I also overall I like having a range of levels in the party, I think.
Just looking over all the our characters in our guild so far, there's we don't have that many people that go above level 5. We have maybe about 6 or 7. So if we do a tiered system, I think rather than having everyone's forced to separate and divide, like what Caius was saying, it does add a new dynamic to the game, which I really like, because then you have one person who's the veteran who knows Illumina probably really well compared to the rest of the newer players. And then they have the newer players who are just kind of looking to them for their next move, which is always fun, especially with a permanent setting like this where we're always kind of just stuck in here. So we also have to live here, which is fun. And to talk about the tiers more specifically, I like the way it is now, but if we do a tiered system, I don't think we should restrict the higher levels from moving down. But I think that, I guess it would be kind of like Pink's decision as a character, but if the lower levels wouldn't be able to move up the tier. So rookies would be stuck doing rookie missions, but the veterans could go down if they needed gold or needed more experience. Because we do not have that many veterans that are players. We have like 8.
But they're the regular players, so
yeah,
they're more sort of dependable to turn up.
I guess after hearing both aspects, my perspective on it and position would be, yes, definitely keep the standard game. It's not to do away with that, but it's the same token, having, whether you call it restricted or special events that are higher level and such, that we could go with that and say use it as a pilot and see how well it's accepted. I mean, in a stand, if it's listed, when we listed the event or the game, I'd say, and you could list it as a standard or one of the tiered. And on a standard game, yeah, a higher level character would not be shunned away. But if it's a tiered game, then I would say try to stay within that tier, because the DM probably has monsters that are set up for that challenge rating, as far as that. Where on the standard games, I know myself, I usually take the average level that I see that's being interested, and say that they're coming to select my monsters and try to make them challenging. And if I use a higher CR than there, usually I work it in such a way that it will not be unfair to the lower lower levels as far as that. But that's me. Any input on that?
No, I think that's pretty much keep it as it is at the moment, and an occasional tiered game, either high, one for the higher level. I mean, one for the higher level, but more probably for the a lower level one for sort of newbies or people who haven't played before, who feel a bit intimidated to play with higher level characters.
I think if maybe if we, I think calling it tiered would be kind of intimidating to the newer players. So maybe if we just called the higher, like the more dangerous missions, like more emergencies than anything. So like they obviously have more rewards.
Just as a suggestion, could there be sort of could there actually be different tiers or levels in the guild hall? And if you get above, if you've done a certain number of adventures, if you've got a bit of a reputation, you're allowed up into this, you know, into a special room. I mean, it doesn't really make any. It's just a room, but but you know.
Everyone builds you up. You get all hyped. You get into the special room, and
you
it's
can
just
go up
wood.
The room. Yeah, and it's just another room. But sort of, you know, yeah. I don't know. I remember once playing in a game where there was a guild with 3 levels. There's the guild master who had his quarters on the top floor. Then there were the elite guild members who had access to the second floor, and we could only just see up the stairs and hear music and laughter coming down. And it was kind of an incentive thing, though I don't know whether it was any different up there.
I kind of like
but in
the
our
idea.
In our heads, it was some sort of paradise to get up those stairs.
That would be kind of awesome.
I kind of like the idea because, yeah, the incentive, the motivation, that's realistic, and that allows the characters to talk, to build the dynamic, and it's in those rooms, so to say, if we want to call them rooms, that the special or emergency postings would be on that board instead of the general board that's down in the general lobby area. As far as that, it would make sense. And for flavor and role play, yeah, the idea of hearing laughter and the music or whatever, the elements of additional joy or sorrow coming from there for newer characters would be, I'd say one room would be for veterans, which would be a set level.
But thinking about who'd be up there, I think you just hear arguments coming from upstairs, and all the people who'd made that level would be coming downstairs all the time to join the beginners.
Well, you have that, but the arguments in themselves could be fun because they can come down the stairs muttering, "That's not the way it was. I was there." You know, one telling a bigger tale than the other, type of thing, as a possibility. But I'd say,
with Eros and Elwyn in there.
Make one that's a veteran level, and and one above that as a more of a prestige level. I don't know what you call it, but like that would and have the rooms controlled so the lower levels can't get in, and as far as that, we'll have to come up with a method onto that, and maybe a name for the.
Well, you could just have a ward that is on the stairs or something, so that only members who have a certain item on them can get through.
Well, we could that something like that, but it's stuff to think about. Something we can see about implementing. Sounds like fun. I think it's definitely doable in that way.
There goes all our charity gold.
But yeah, we got certain wards that are on the guild entrances anyway, so we can put similar around the entrance of those those rooms.
Yeah.
As far as that. So any other questions, topics for discussion? Or things you'd like to see? That, to me, that's stuff that's topics of discussion, but we'll put that out there a little clearer.
I guess it's sort of an extension to the monstrous races.
Okay.
How would you feel about sentient animals, like celestial creatures that are just animals?
In which aspect?
You mean playable? Or,
yeah, playable animals, or playable. It's basically playable monsters, but these monsters aren't your typical, minotaur or half demon that you would see walking around. Perhaps they are just, celestial animals that are probably not typical like the divine bond, but can still speak to you, but are obviously restricted because they do not have hands or feet and can't climb the same things.
You talking about like the paladin's steeds, or the beastmaster's beast? Or...
No, I'm talking about like there are creatures that are kind of like regular animals, but obviously they have their markers. Like, for example, just to be quick about it, like a celestial dog, it's pretty, I would say it's been in a couple movies, but there's dogs that talk to you like they are human, but they're dogs.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess what I'm getting at, you're not using them as a player character, but as a support to a player character. Am I correct?
Or would they be a player character?
They would be a player character.
Ooh.
So I kind of think of like the pug from Men in Black.
Mm-hmm.
He's sitting in the stand selling newspapers.
Well, let's put it this way. From my perspective, let's get through the aspect of the Voles monstrous player characters, and then later on see about something like that as a support creature, something akin to the paladin steed, or a beast from the Rangers Beastmaster or whatnot. I could see that being useful and playable and flavorful, as long as the DM wanted to go along with it. As a player character right now, let us get our comfort level set at certain things at the moment. It would be my suggestion. I don't know how the rest of the guild would feel about it. I know myself, that would be my suggestion.
That kind of reminds me, talking about support characters, that kind of reminds me of my other point, the other question. How would I've been in a couple games already where people haven't shown up, and obviously we can't just drag their players along with us. Could we create NPCs so that if the players don't show, the DM can just look at these NPCs and be like, okay, well, we're missing a few players, let's just bring them along, so that NPCs can fill up the missing bodies for the ideal amount of players that we're missing?
I'd say that's definitely possible. It's up to the dungeon master whether or not they want to handle the NPCs or how they want to handle the NPCs. It's possibly a little bit more work for them, but there again, it does help guarantee an event can go on.
I agree. I think it should. It can be a sort of tool the GM can use to make the adventure happen. If you've got it planned for this sort of number of players, then you can use your original plans. I personally probably won't use it because I can just adapt. I just slightly adapt my plans to a lower number of players or even a higher number of players. But
yeah,
that'd be my instinct. But I'm not against it as an idea.
And neither am I totally. I know we've kind of used some active members at certain points, like NPCs being Fletch there, yep. and like that in certain scenarios to add a certain amount of flavor, because the area that we're playing in is kind of where Ty has Fletch as a controlling entity and such, so it gives some freedom that way. But DMs have always been able to add NPCs to help beef up. There again, player characters, something that isn't used a lot, are always and have always been since first edition able to hire henchmen, which is typically an NPC. But they control.
The other reason I recommended this is because usually, well, generically in this guild so far, we've always started at the guild hall, and I find that when we are introduced to new characters, like when Caius has us talk to Stoic or Pincus, I guess Pincus is kind of the NPC owner, but I believe Stoic is an actual player character, and I don't know who he belongs to.
He belongs to Caius.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
And I haven't told you this, but he actually just, as he was wandering around the guild, he found an axe of the dwarvish lords in one of my sessions. So he's now got.
God damn. So I just thought the NPC pool would be kind of nice for DMs who don't really have a nice big list of NPCs to draw on. So it'd be just nice to have them talk about some of the other people that are just walking around, rather than there's people just walking back and forth while you're looking for jobs.
Well, there again, I would say if the player character wanted to hire some henchmen, which it would be NPC, they could hire some henchmen, but it would take working with the DM just a little bit. Say your character was thinking about having, 2 other guys, henchmen, or 3. You could do up the stats for the henchmen, get with the DM and preload in a sense that, hey, I want to do hire these guys to come along if needed, and see how he'll feel about it. Myself, I'd probably roll with it, long as the henchmen weren't too high in level for the event, and realize it costs you money to hire henchmen. So
yeah,
the DM can set the cost on how it would impact, or what kind of deal you can arrange with them, which you could RP it in the game session and where it makes sense. How you feel about that, Caius?
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
It's, if you're going to hire a wizard to come along as a henchman, that's definitely going to be more pricey than hiring a couple commoners,
Porter,
and like that. So you'd have to have the right deal or the right amount of cash to facilitate it. I think that puts the balancing effort. That way we're not getting into a battle map sort of thing where you're walking around with literally a brigade of fighters, and you just sitting back and giving orders like a battle master.
Even if you're a battle master.
Because some of the dungeons, and where I would end up putting the challenge there, some of the dungeons just aren't big enough to hold all those men.
Just keep them flooding in. Eventually, all the traps have to stop sometime.
Unless they're like the Tomb of Horrors, where you have a spear of annihilation in the mouth.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how many you send in, it'll eat them.
Yes. So it's just,
just imagine all the gold you don't have to pay.
There's ways to balance, but just not to don't want things getting too far out of hand. I hope that answers your question, Alex.
Yeah, no, that answers my question, definitely.
But yeah, since playing 5e, I have not seen a party myself. I have not seen a party actually go into a tavern or another guild hall or something and actually hire specialty personnel to go with them. And back in first edition, we used to do that semi-regularly. When you had...
We should have did that in your last game. Oh my god.
What?
We should have hired a ranger to help us get through the snow.
Yeah, you could have.
No, we should have. That's a should, not a could. That was a big mistake.
Oh well, you've learned.
But look how fun it was.
That was really fun, though.
Yeah.
Especially like the end.
Any other suggestions, questions, inputs?
I'm just scrolling through the
okay.
see if there's any questions. Nothing recent.
Are there certain monsters that you guys would like to see more of?
I would say it's been pretty diverse so far. Like, of all the campaigns I've gone on, I haven't seen any like true like unspeakable horrors yet. I mean, we saw my character doesn't know this, but we did see the Draco Lich.
Yeah.
But I have no, I barely could see it actually, even though it swooped down and breathed fire, lightning on everything. My character didn't really see it, but
that was, to be honest, that was kind of in honor of Caius.
Oh, sorry, I missed it.
On the Giants game, a special dragon, a dragon lich. There, just for you or from you with your lich game. It just sounded too cinematic not to have in the story arc there.
Oh my god, it just Oral was there ready to sacrifice his life for me, and then it just swoops right on past and breathes lightning on the fort, and well, it's just sitting there like, that's the heroic moment ruined.
But it made it fun for you.
It was fun.
The threat was there.
Oh, I love getting chased by 23-foot tall giants in the snow.
Sounds like quite a game that I missed.
It was, and there's some things they missed. They never really, but they did accomplish the mission. They brought back some intel.
Oh. The only thing I can really think of is at the top of my head is magic items. I haven't in any of the games that I've played so far. We haven't encountered any, even if they get confiscated after. But I haven't encountered any besides what Eros has used, and I didn't know if there was some way we could buy them or if there's a marketplace for them.
They've been hard to come by.
Yep.
Alwyn has one. It aggravated a former player, but it is what it is. It's a cursed item, and I wrote it up in a certain way. There are some magic items out there, but they're not. We try to keep them somewhat balanced for the.
Okay, I just want to know if they were a common thing, because so far they seem almost absent.
Certainly not. Yep. I don't think
the
so.
thing that's a little more common on the magic items were more like mundane type of things in certain ways, and even those haven't been found a lot. But that's a good discussion whether or not on that how much more magic do we want involved. The only thing I'd say with that, the more magic that's involved, what's out there for player characters are also out there for monsters.
Yeah.
So depending on how the group feels about that, would be a direction to go. In fact, Elwyn on that fight, and somebody else got a magic item. They got it off the half frost giant that they battled and defeated.
I didn't know the setting, so I was just asking for personal information.
Yeah, but that's fine, and that's part of this forum here. The questions that you have, when we address them here, and those that want to find out the response, they can either go back and view the guild talk, or it's referenced to the guild talk, and it's out there for more. What were you going to say, Kais?
If you look in the files part of the Unnamed Adventurers Guild, there's some magic items written up there. They're all sort of fairly unique to the setting. But
oh, I saw those. I just didn't know what the hell they were.
So, yeah, it's not the typical D&D magic shop.
Okay.
Kind of place. Oh, when I say typical D&D, it's changed how common and rare it is. I hear sort of in 3rd edition and 4th edition it was much more common, but now it's more like the older days where it exists, but it's rare.
And if I had to classify the setting right at the moment, I would classify somewhere between low fantasy to a standard fantasy. There are some magic items in certain things, but you're not finding a lot of artifact almost type items.
Except Stoic when I'm GMing.
He finds them everywhere. He tripped on one the other day.
Yeah.
But the only exception I would say from the story arcs I've ran are the shards of the Orb of Chaos. But those were things to capture, and they were mission related, and they went back to a point as far as that, even though that I think 1 or 2 of them got stole back by the Dark Queen. And that's going to be a constant and somewhat constant item that within that setting that they're striving to get, but because for one side or the other, what they consider a desirable environment that they want to be in, that will adjust certain things, but we haven't ran across a lot of high magic artifact type.
Okay, I'm gonna be right back, and I'm gonna have one final question.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's not saying that we can't, because if we go to like that tiered, or we'll say emergency rooms or room designation, you get up high enough, then yeah, you're gonna need certain things that make it reasonable for you to attack the challenges.
So just go again through your list of ideas that you had of problems they might meet tonight.
Well, he was saying,
I had absolutely no ideas, but I think it'll be very boring if I just run through my safe. Safe,
you got
boring
guard
duty
about easy money, but the money is never easy. I mean, you could have the dust shroud trying to come in and steal something from the noble, or you could have corruption in his household.
Is the Dust Shroud the name of the Thieves Guild in Illumina?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's their Dan put together.
Nice.
Their information's in the we have written up in the World of Areawood Facts book under the files.
I didn't see that, but
and there's several entities of the Dust Rounds, and I think he changed the names, but I refer to the Thieves Guild itself as the Dust Round. They kind of have the general thieves and assassins and a what would you call it? The strong arm, where they collect
the enforcers.
Money. Enforcers, yeah. There, but there's also the Black Roses, but they're not necessarily very verbose in Illumina. They're in some of the other surrounding places, because there is a certain amount of honor between assassins guilds, not to encroach too much on one or the other. And as things progress, we probably need to keep up on that Facts of Areawood book, the digital book, for reference there to keep it somewhat up to date. But I know I haven't in a while.
So I think you just went over a bunch of organizations while I was away. Dang it.
Well, yeah, if you go to the file tab, go down through, and there's a document down there called Facts of Areawood Facts. Some of the organizations and things are in there. Some of the deities that are unique are in there. In fact, I described on the Giants game what you would be seeing, and on the one enemy, and it is what you saw was one of the deities.
Wow.
Well,
was that a lower?
Unlucky.
You could have had it.
Yeah. She could have kidnapped me, and I'm just like, I got music.
That's the best way to deal with those kind of things.
That's the only way.
Play me the best song in the world, or I'll eat your soul.
He didn't play the best song in the world. He was gonna die. I think a sticker on his guitar saved him.
So, Alex, what was your question?
So as a newer player, I've already done a couple missions in Illumina, but I still don't really have like a strong idea of what Illumina is like. Like, I get that it's kind of a seedy underground type place with a lot of differing like thieves guilds just kind of clashing behind the scenes. But as a character who's come from a foreign land, technically, I don't really know what it's like to be in Illumina, because so far I've been in 3 taverns, and they've all been very different in contrast.
Okay. Illumina, there's several different things I'd suggest. One, watch some of the old videos, because you see the factions, but that's very time consuming. The other, that document of the Areawood, the facts, a lot of information about aluminum is in there and about Areawood, which where alumina is set into. But the quick down and dirty is that alumina is a city, that an ancient city that's been rebuilt once upon its destroyed foundations, and it's growing and changing, and there's some corruption in the council. There's political intrigue. There's out and out, just up in your face crime and struggle with law enforcement and certain things around the area. They're trying, the city council itself is trying to control as much as they can around their bases, but there again, it takes gold and it takes bodies, and there's a constant struggle outside on caravan routes and such that keeps the unnamed adventurers guild well fed, and also the thieves guilds, assassins guilds, the merchants guild and such that are out there. There's a lot of guilds that are in there, in alumina. If you download the map of alumina along with the key guide, you'll see a bunch of things that are available within the city and how they can interact. I mean, Dan Harsh, who DM'd, he DM'd a lot of inner city events, because that's what he had a knack for, or a desire for, and he was running the Thieves Guild, the Dust Shrouds, and those associated under the Dust Shroud, which were fun adventures. And you can see those are some of the earlier adventures. You can see those. Then you got Ty, that's been running some adventures around aluminum between Andoterian and Red Guild, and he shifted a lot over to Red Guild since he kind of picked up that area with the tavern he purchased down there and such. But he did set up the personage as the guild's intermediary up at Andoterian, being federal. So dealing with outside elements in and out. Myself, I've dealt with my story arcs a little bit inside the city and some of the other cities, but more with a regional impact with the Dark Queen and finding the shards to the Orb of Chaos, and how this one deity that was once kind of lost and forgotten has been slowly making himself alive again in that area. So hopefully that answers some of the questions you have.
Okay. That was pretty good.
Was there anything that you wanted to add, Caius?
No, that's fine.
All right. Any other questions, statements, aspects, hopes?
Not from me, at least.
Okay.
The only question I have is, it's not even important because that would be so hard to translate. But
Well, what's the question?
How does it's difficult because that means that all the GMs have to be really informed with each other. But how does reputation get dealt out between members, or even as the guild as a whole? Because we have some members that, you know, they'll probably, you know, fuck around and do terrible things, and then you'll have some members who do really good or are just really fun to be around. So how do we like a reputation for all the members, especially for higher level members who, like Aelwyn, who's obviously a little straightforward and is probably our most renowned fighter?
Well, really haven't dwelt so much on that, but I'd say probably the way that it has been by the players themselves with the games that they've played in and the videos where they're in, how their reputation takes on, and then the other player characters, when they're involved with them, pick up certain aspects on the RP side and deals with it and makes decisions about their relationship with the others. That's the honest answer right at the moment. As far as the other DMs, it's I think basically we watch each other's stuff and we get a feel for those characters and the players of those player characters, kind of set up their bonds and flaws as they develop the characters through there, and it's easier kind of to play with them in that way, that you got a general knowledge of how they reacted in the past.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, we don't have any sort of fame points or anything like that, or.
So that would be an interesting concept.
And I wouldn't want it. I don't know if I'd be a fan of that, actually. Sort of.
I know
but it would help. It maybe would help sort of coordinate things, making all the GMs sort of on the same page to sort of notice who's noticed and who's not.
I know that in the DMG they have an optional system for something like that. I'd have to read over that to really get familiar with it. It may be something that would be usable. I think they call it renown points, kind of like your inspiration points, but different. But I don't think it really has a system in there to say whether it was good renown or bad renown, what the renown was really for. Just that you have,
you're known.
Yeah, and I'd have to read that over and really look at it, but it's something that could be an additive, maybe. I don't know. Right at the moment, the way things have been working kind of makes sense. but I wouldn't discount the other if there's a great call for it. On that aspect.
I don't really got anything else to add other than I'm going to look over these maps and try and see if I can get a couple games going in the near future.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
And also, don't forget, you guys get a point of inspiration for participating in the Guild Talk to use.
Oh yeah.
And that's another aspect where we're not rules is written. We allow you to add your inspiration up to 5 inspiration points. So we did that a while back, and that doesn't generally. We felt that it doesn't break the games, because most of the time the players forget they even have inspiration points.
I don't think I've ever used one.
I did. I don't know if it was in a guild adventure or not, but I generally forget about them. But
I've used them. I've used them in other games, but not in the UAG. I don't think.
Yeah. But I know Elwyn has, as far as that, and that's what they're there for, and it's great. But something I didn't know whether or not Alex was aware of, and any of the new folks, unless they watched all the Guild Talk and the other adventures, wouldn't be aware of it. So I figured put that back on out and that raise that back up so they can see that. And to answer your question, Caius, there, and like I was saying, corruption of the nobles, staff, Dust Shroud trying to break in.
It's all right. I think I'll have some ideas.
Or
no,
one of the sweetest ones I like is that the noble hires the guild members, drugs them or gets them drunk, then places items on them to discredit the guild and the member, and then they have to prove themselves innocent. I think that, to me, I'm just an evil SOB, I guess, but that just sounds too easy to go along with that easy money. And they could be in cahoots with the Dark Queen or an outside force that's trying to discredit the guild, because the guild's been doing a lot of positive and making a name for itself.
My character could be an agent. You guys just brought me into my arms. Got me into your arms.
That's what awesome. Those are, I think, the basic storylines that we were talking about before you really took an interest.
Good.
Instead of tuning in.
Yeah.
This is not going to be a good time as a player.
It'd be great.
Are you going to join us, Charlie?
If I get back from the garage, Eros will be there in time. But we'll have to. I don't even want to say a maybe at the officially.
Yep.
I'll be looking for it if I get back in time.
if you're there, yeah. Well, it's actually posted for 4 people, so you'll have to work for free.
Okay. Eros has no problem with that. He's not overly, and that's his character, developed character flaw. He's not overly concerned so much with money. Being a ranger, he knows he can always feed his own belly.
Except that one time when he got taxed.
Well, you always have a breakaway moment at one point or another sometimes.
Yeah.
And it was too sweet. I loved it.
It was just,
the sense
Rangers,
of
Rangers are masters of the wilds, but don't mess with the tax authorities.
All right. If that's everything that everybody has, then I'll stop the broadcast and I'll head to the garage.
Okay.
Yeah. Those are all my main questions anyways.